This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Welcome back. Eric Erickson here across the nation. I hope you're ready for a great weekend. I am. I'm headed to the mountains after the show is over. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I'm going to keep pushing you, please, to text ARMY to 33777. I'll spend a little more time later on why. But Barack Obama and Bill Clinton have finally... I've been saying, where are they? Why aren't they out there? We are now, 25 days from the election. And let me just give you the timeline again, parroting James Carville from yesterday. What happens right now doesn't matter. This whole week is gone for the campaign. It's kind of bizarre. They didn't hit pause on Obama until next week. And the reason is because the hurricane coverage. You've still got the hurricane relief from Helene in North Carolina. You've got the disaster of Milton down in Florida. People are focused on that in key states. So your news cycle is cut. The focus that you might get is now the focus there. So that takes out this week. So now you're down to 20 days left. The Saturday before the election, everything kind of stops. So that's now you got 15 days. You got 15 days to campaign. Every single day matters. Every single day on the campaign trail matters. In fact, let me play you this from Jake Tapper on CNN. This is Tapper talking about the Harris schedule that is somewhat baffling.
She did do a town hall today with Univision that's going to air this evening. But are you surprised that she's not doing like 5 events a day, like barnstorming? I mean, there's only 26 days. Barnstorming every battleground state, 3 or 4 events a day. Forget the interview thing, okay? I realize I'm biased as a reporter. I want interviews.
Or local news.
But the local news interviews, town halls, it just seems like it doesn't feel like October with the schedules I'm looking at for both of them, but I kind of think he has the edge right now.
That's Jake Tapper on CNN saying, well, why isn't she barnstorming the country right now? He's neither of them are doing a heavy schedule, but he's got the... he has the lead right now. He's doing more events. He's out there. She's not doing town halls. She's not doing press conferences. She's not doing events. And by the way, when she does events, they continue to be small, and they're trying to tell themselves that her small turnout is a psychological thing, and Democrats have jobs and blah, 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 blah. And no, this is not the sign of a healthy campaign. And now they've trotted out Barack Obama and Bill Clinton finally, but they've trotted them out at a time that people are worried about the hurricane. Like Bill Clinton is coming to Georgia and North Carolina at a time that they're digging out from a hurricane. Your news cycle is going, I realize like psychologically we got 25, 26 days left in the campaign, but as someone who's run campaigns, I can tell you have 15 days. Why? You have to get your ads up. You have to get your mail out and delivered. And that takes time. You have last-minute events and rallies. The window for voter registration ends in another week. You got to do all of these things right now, and the Harris campaign's not doing this stuff. And then they trot out Barack Obama, and it's just it's wild to me. Okay, so you know what? Let me. I was going to get into the Obama stuff. Let me do this first. So in a campaign for office, and shut up, Philip. Whenever I do this, I'll say, you really need to write a book on how to run for office. Those books are written. Maybe that should be my next book because I know how to do this. But so you start When do you start planning your campaign? You start in reverse chronological order. You first of all, you start on election day. On election day, the candidates some of them are going to be doing early morning, particularly if you're a presidential candidate. If you're a presidential candidate, you're going to start your day very early on election day, and you're going to go to some swing states on the East Coast very early. So you're going to do, for example, find your necessary states. Let's say you're Harris. You've given up on Georgia. Let's say both give me. You're going to start in Pennsylvania. You're going to do an early event in Philadelphia on the Philadelphia side. You're going to fly very quickly over to the Pittsburgh side. Then you're going to hop to maybe if it's Harris, you're going to Michigan. If it's Trump, you're going to Las Vegas. And with the way the time change works, you can get on a plane in Pittsburgh, because I've done this from Atlanta. Let's say you wrap up your rally at 10 a.m. You get on your plane and you fly to Las Vegas, and you can do your rally, or send J.D. Vance, and you go somewhere else. And then you do that rally quick, and you get on the plane, and you go to where you're going for the rest of the day. And by then, it's going to be the evening when you land. But on the plane, you're working phones, you're calling people, you're doing interviews remote, however you're doing it. And then you get to where you're going. You start there. Now, what are you doing the day before? The day before you're doing rallies. So you rallies. The Saturday before the election is the end of your news. All of your ads are now placed. All of your mail is out the door. Your volunteers are phone banking. And you plan your campaign. You rewind a year and a half before, and you're analyzing precincts. How many votes turned out 4 years ago? What is the growth of the precinct population-wise, or decline of the precinct? So how many votes do I need to get that precinct now? Now I'm going to get my team in order in these states, and these teams are going to organize the counties, and in the counties they're going to have a team. The county teams are going to organize the precincts, and they're going to find volunteers, and how many people can I put on the payroll, and what is my budget, and can I make these people employees so I'm paying them to knock on doors for me, and what is the messaging, and you're going to do the polling, and what's going to persuade people. Now, the downside for Kamala Harris is she inherited the Biden campaign. So she's only had really a month and a half, 2 months to get this done. But she inherited a campaign apparatus. The problem is she inherited one of the worst campaign apparati ever. And I want to say this. Don't hate me from the right or from Trump campaign for saying this. This is just the reality. Kamala Harris is on the verge of losing this election in part because she inherited the worst presidential campaign team in years. The Kamala Harris campaign team is the Joe Biden campaign team supplemented by an Obama campaign team that came in knowing the Biden campaign team are some of the worst, most incompetent people to run a presidential campaign ever. And the people who are on the Biden team knew the Obama team didn't like them. And then Kamala Harris, on top of it all, brought in part of her family to help run things. And everybody knows those people are idiots. Her entire campaign is a reflection of her indecision, her arrogance, her incompetence, her inability to do the work, to rely on other people and make those people the fall guy. Her campaign is a reflection of her. But on top of that, it's also a reflection of a dementia-addled old man who they tried to cover and keep out of the limelight. And on top of that, this is not a competent campaign. If she's able to pull this off, this is another reason that Trump has an advantage right now, because that campaign team is so bad. If Kamala Harris is able to pull it off, it will be something for the history books, and it will tell you a couple of things. One, that Republicans blew a historic opportunity to find a better candidate that more people liked, and two, that so many people found January 6th disqualifying, they had to go for Harris. And that's it. And the reason is because all of the issues favor Donald Trump, and that's why he should win. The issues and the campaign organization, Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, have overwhelmed. So, by the way, do you remember when Kamala Harris enters the scene, Donald Trump kind of seems like he's lost it. The campaign is not firing all cylinders, and you suddenly have this, they need to get rid of Susie Wiles. They need to get rid of Chris LaCivita. And I was the one guy in conservative radio saying, no, this is not a problem with Susie Wiles. This is not a problem with Chris LaCivita. This is a problem with the candidate. He's got to get his head back in the game. And what did I say? I did an entire monologue. I wrote a letter to Donald Trump openly, Dear Donald Trump. And I said, you got to get your head in the game. Stop blaming Susie Wiles. Stop blaming Chris LaCivita. This is not them. This is you. You thought you had it in the bag. You don't have it in the bag. And you need to understand one thing. If you do not win, you are going to jail. So you better win. And the way you win is you get your head back in the game. And guess what? Donald Trump got his head back in the game. What did he start doing? He started focusing on the economy. He started focusing on crime. He started focusing on immigration. And guess what's happened? There are no calls to get rid of Chris LaCivita. There are no calls to get rid of Susie Wiles. There are no calls to upend the Trump campaign. Why? Because this was about Trump and the people surrounding Trump. And notice, you're not seeing him traveling with Laura Loomer anymore. You're not seeing him travel with Roger Stone. You're not seeing him travel with Rudy Giuliani. They started limiting the people he was around. They got those people out of his headspace. And when you get those people out of his headspace, what happens? Trump focuses. So Donald Trump's been focusing. He's been on the campaign. And guess what's happened? Campaign's turned around. You don't have people whispering, it's that Chris LaCivita guy. It's that Susie Wiles. They've distracted him. They're micromanagers. You don't have that anymore. You're not hearing that. What are you hearing? You're hearing that about the Harris campaign. Democrats privately grumbling. Harris is not doing enough. Again, let's go back to the very beginning. Just open it again. The Jake Tapper.
She did do a town hall today with Univision that's going to air this evening. But are you surprised that she's not doing like 5 events a day, like barnstorming? I mean, there's only 26 days. Barnstorming every battleground state, 3 or 4 events a day. Forget the interview thing, okay? I realize I'm biased as a reporter. I want interviews.
Or local news,
but local news interviews, town halls, it just seems like it doesn't feel like October with the schedules I'm looking at for both of them. But I kind of think he has the edge right now.
He does. And by the way, guess what he's doing? He's doing local media interviews. All the stuff I said that Trump needed to do, he's doing. I'm not taking credit for it. Don't hear me say I'm taking credit for it. It was just obvious. As someone who's run campaigns, this is what you need to do. You gotta get these people out of Trump's headspace. Get him out of the headspace. Surround him with people who are focused on the economy, crime, and immigration, and he'll be focused on the economy, crime, and immigration. Stop all the backbiting talk about Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. That stopped. And get him out there doing local media interviews. They're doing local media interviews. They're barnstorming the nation. They're going to the swing states. He's in Michigan. He's in Pennsylvania. And he's even going to California and New York to help the House Republicans. And, of course, the Democrats misunderstand what he's doing. The Democrats are like, what an arrogant SOB thinking he can win those states. He may be saying that when he's on stage, but he's there for the House Republicans. And the Democrats behind the scenes know it. And what is Kamala Harris doing? She's flubbing everything. She's not out there aggressively. She's not barnstorming the nation. Her campaign is the one starting to backbite. Her campaign is the one doing the whispering. Her campaign is the one where people are stabbing each other in the back. Her campaign is the one whispering about her family ties in the campaign that aren't doing what they're doing. Her campaign is the one doing what you do when you lose. You start doing on-background interviews with the press to cover your butt. And you go to the press and you say, listen, it's not me. Let me set the narrative for the campaign's loss right now, and you keep me out of it. That's what starts happening when campaigns start losing, and that's begun to happen with Kamala Harris. In another week, you'll be hearing about how it's all Joe Biden's fault. In fact, they'll be furious in another week about Joe Biden. When given the opportunity to keep Kamala Harris on message, Joe Biden, what does he do? He defends Ron DeSantis. Yes, Joe Biden the other day defended Ron DeSantis and his handling of the hurricane after Kamala Harris tried to pick a fight with him. You're going to hear the Harris campaign stabbing Joe Biden in the back pretty soon. And Barack Obama, because of what Barack Obama did yesterday, you got Tim Walz generating bad headlines. You got Barack Obama generating bad headlines for Kamala Harris. Yeah, have y'all heard about Barack Obama? We'll get to Barack Obama. I'm stunned he did what he did. You know, the guy who's going to go out there and make himself look good and redeem himself for the Democrats is Bill Clinton, which is kind of hilarious. The Me Too culture, Bill Clinton is going to get out there in Georgia and North Carolina. He's going to do the little fist with the thumb on top and the little quivering, going to bite his bottom lip. He's going to tell people about the future and how it's time to send a black woman to Washington to clean things up that the white guys broke. And Bill Clinton, he's going to outperform Barack Obama. Not going to have missteps. That's my prediction, at least. It's going to be hilarious to watch the Democrats not know what to do with that. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Howdy, welcome. Okay, so I got to tell you guys, I went long in the last segment, so this is a short segment here. I was driving home from Atlanta last night. The convoys of bucket trucks of the linemen was, I have seen these before, but I was driving one. These guys headed to Florida was just, it was crazy. And they were actually booking it. Every single one of them was probably doing 80 miles an hour. They actually could drive their trucks, and they were having to weave. All the Floridians were headed home. And I don't know what it is. And those of you in Florida, I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm just, it's been so noticeable to me over the last number of years that the number of people with Florida tags who go slow in the left lane, and they won't move over when someone quickly comes up behind them. Like, I did this last night, so I'm not a super speeder, but I was going, my cruise control was set to 79 miles an hour. I was in a 70, I was going 79, which in Georgia, typically you're fine doing that. I came up on a guy in the left lane from Florida who was doing not 70 miles an hour, but 69 miles an hour. And he would not get, there was no one in the middle lane. He would not get over. So I went around him, and he had the audacity to accelerate, to try to not allow me to get back into the left lane. But you know what? There's also this pattern with some drivers now where when they go up a hill, they go really fast, and then they slow before they get to the top hill in case there's a speed trap on the downslope, and he pulled that. Well, I left him behind. And again, I'm not a super aggressive driver, but it drives me insane when people do that. And just the amount of people from Florida, and all, I could see all the bucket trucks doing the same thing, having to weave in and out come on, people. The left lane is for passing. I do not drive in the left lane. I use it for passing, get back in the middle lane. That's what you're supposed to do. People forget that. It is not a lane for being slow and driving. That lane is called the far right lane. Just be smart out there on the road, please. Now, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank because I'm so happy with them as my bank. OldGloryBank.com is where you go. I've told you this before, and this gun group that I know, they've started with Old Glory because other banks didn't want to do business with them. 2 banks closed their accounts with no explanation, very clearly because they're gun manufacturers. That's not going to happen with Old Glory Bank because they're a bank by conservatives for conservatives, and they would love to have your business. As a conservative, I moved to Old Glory Bank when I heard the company was starting. Let me be real clear with you. God's honest truth. I was a customer of Old Glory Bank before I did ads for them. That's how much I like this bank. I've now invested in the bank. They're just good people. It's a good bank. You can do mortgages with them, car loans with them, CDs with them, checking, savings, business accounts, everything you need. oldglorybank.com. Oldglorybank.com. You can even deposit cash, even though they're an online bank. Their app is great. You got 88,000 retail locations that work with them. Oldglorybank.com. Oldglorybank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here. Welcome back. The phone number, 877-973-7425. We got to get into what Barack Obama did. Do no harm. It's not just for surgeons, it's for campaign surrogates. And, well, he did some harm. Let me play you. This is, I've got the audio boosted as much as I can. You're going to need to listen to this. This is Barack Obama. He is in Philadelphia talking about the need for men to vote.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. He's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
That was Obama. Now, notice he did the witcha. He's trying to speak more like he's on the street, not a multi-millionaire. But one more clip, this one from CNN.
Makes me think, I'm speaking to men directly. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
You got this? So first of all, the brothers, the black men, you need to vote for Kamala Harris. The brothers need to vote for Kamala Harris, and men clearly they don't want a woman to be president. This is a problem. The men are to blame. They're trying to do outreach to men by lecturing them. You got the stupid ad of the not quite heterosexual men saying that they're comfortable voting for. Well, not all. Some of them were fine. Oh, come on though. It was obvious. That was a stupid ad. But this is how they want to get black men to vote. Now, I need to say something. I want to begin by acknowledging I am not the person to say this. When I put on socks, they disappear on my leg, camouflage, because I am so white. And I did not grow up in this country and have a sometimes tin ear when it comes to this stuff. But I am going to say this anyway because it's true, and every one of you who listens knows it's going to be true. And those of you who complain loudly are complaining loudly because you don't want the truth to be uttered in this way. For Barack Obama to tell a group of black men that they need to vote for a woman who shares their experience in life when he himself grew up at a Tony White school in Hawaii, having otherwise been in Indonesia with his white mother and her well-to-do parents, and telling a group of black men they now need to vote for a woman who grew up in Canada with college professors who did not have the experience of black people in America. This is part of the problem. It was actually a large group of white people who voted for Barack Obama and got him across the finish line. It was the white voters of America in 2008 who voted for Barack Obama thinking this country has finally moved on from our original sin. We can support this man. And what happened? Barack Obama weaponized race relations against everyone. And a whole lot of white people, particularly working class white people, move to the Republican Party because of it. And it's not just them. A whole lot of younger black people in this country who have recognized the progress of this country have now rejected the Democratic Party, trying to weigh them down and tie them to the original sins of the country and all of the manifestations and distortions and psychological trauma that comes with it, when they just want a job. They just want a family. They don't want to be race warriors for the Democratic Party. To tell a bunch of black people in this country that they need to vote for a black woman whose family descends from the largest slave-owning family in Jamaica, probably not the right message for them. And by the way, that's true. Kamala Harris's family from Jamaica, huge slave owners. She herself went from Berkeley, California to Canada. To tell these young black men in Philly that she has the same life experience as them is absurd. Not just me. Nina Turner, who is a progressive activist from Ohio. This is her on CNN.
We need to appeal to the needs of the voters. And so when I was a delegate for President Obama in both of his elections in Ohio, right now the vice president is down 11 points in Ohio, even though I fully expect President Trump to take Ohio, as he did twice, but to be down 11 points compared to President Biden, that is a problem. But this other issue I want to bring up is a problem, too. Why are black men being lectured to? Why are black men being belittled in ways that no other voting group? Now, a lot of love for former President Obama, but for him to single out black men is wrong. And some of the black men that I have talked to have their reasons why they want to vote a different way. And even if some of us may not like that, we have to respect it. So unless President Barack Obama is going to go out and lecture every other group of men from other identity groups, my message for Democrats is don't bring it here to black men who, by and large, don't vote much differently from black women. And
Amen. I disagree with this woman on politics, but she's absolutely right. Here's Scott Jennings also.
I mean, this is a political party that thinks gender is just a state of mind, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, we have trouble with moderate biological males. I mean, who is surprised about this?
Yeah,
I think Democratic Party elites like Obama and like others have been viciously attacking Donald Trump since 2016. And everything they've said about him is what they have always said about him. And I don't think it's particularly effective right now. I think their problem isn't attacking Trump. Their problem is finding reasons to give people to support Kamala Harris. This stop he made in this plea he's making to African-American men. I mean, he said today he insulted them. I mean, he, first of all, admits that they're not enthusiastic about her. He said, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president, and you're coming up with other alternatives and reasons for that. And I think one thing we've seen about Democrats over the years is that when they can't convince you to do something, they begin to insult you. Obama specifically, when he was having trouble with rural voters in Pennsylvania, go back all the way into his campaigns, he insulted them about their culture and values. I don't think it's helpful to insult a group of people who are already not enthusiastic about your campaign, but I think that's what he did today.
Yeah, he's not wrong. And Barack Obama does do this. Remember, Barack Obama is the man, and this will go in the historic record, even if Democrats hate it when you point it out. Barack Obama is the man who weaponized people's voter registrations against them and their neighbors. Barack Obama's reelection campaign in 2012 was the first time a presidential candidate sent out mail pieces to people saying, hey, Democrat, do you know your neighbor's a Republican and has already cast their ballot? That's what he did. True story. What he did? Pioneered outing people's voter registration and weaponizing it against people. That's what he did. That's what Barack Obama does. He's not a unifier. He's not a healer. The people who say this stuff, look, I love David Axelrod. I think he's a great guy. Disagree with him on politics. He and his wife, wonderful people. They've had me in their home. He loves Barack Obama. And I'm like, you see a side of him, you need to understand how the rest of us see him. He weaponized voter registration against people. He told people to take guns to knife fights. He belittled the white people of Pennsylvania, bitterly clinging to their guns and religion. This is what Barack Obama does. He is not the healer and unifier that Democrats try to claim he is. And for him to go out to black men and lecture them, and what's actually happening, Scott Jennings points this out. You might have missed it, but what he's pointing out is that this is an admission against interest, that the Democrats know they have a problem of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. Remember all of the excitement and how all of a sudden Democrats claimed they were enthusiastic? A lot of it, they were telling themselves this after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. I point you again to a year ago, New York Magazine, a year and a half ago, Politico, and others were all saying Kamala Harris would be a disaster. Joe Biden needs to replace her with someone else, and they didn't listen. So for a month, Democrats tried to tell themselves and everyone else they were enthusiastic. It was group therapy session is what it was. The people with mental health issues in this country sitting around trying to tell themselves everything was fine and they were going to be okay and they were going to stop Orange Man Bad. And guess what? Orange Man Bad about to kick their butts. Why? Because nobody likes Kamala Harris. Her own staff doesn't like Kamala Harris. Black men do not like Kamala Harris. And the dirty little secret is not enough black women like Kamala Harris. Why? Again, don't hate me for telling you the truth. These people have lived in this country, in many parts of this country, where they were treated differently because of the color of their skin. They have been treated badly. They worry when the police pull up behind them. Are they going to get stopped because of the color of their skin or the vehicle they drive? Whether you want to admit it, white people, or not, it is oftentimes true. And that's not happened to Kamala Harris. In fact, she's been on the end of the locking people up, young black men. Kamala Harris grew up in Canada. She doesn't have the lived experience of a black woman in South Carolina. She doesn't have the lived experience of a black woman in North Carolina or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And yet she's somehow trying to pull this racial harmony string of, I'm one of you. No, you're not. You're someone who got into elite power, and in getting into elite power, you used the power of the police force to arrest black men to presume that white progressives in California would like you as a law and order candidate. There's not a level of enthusiasm about her. Y'all can be mad at me for telling you the truth, but it's true. I'm sorry. Folks can be mad at me for telling the truth, but it's the truth. And I warned people about this months ago and was vilified by a lot of Democrats saying, you're not black, you're not allowed to say that. I'm just telling you the truth. The truth does not have a racial identifier. Younger black men in particular do not want to be lectured by a black woman who put a lot of young black men in jail and then claimed that she was on their side. And you know what? Young black families, they just want a job. And Kamala Harris is the Harris and the Biden-Harris administration that wrecked the economy. And they remember and they resent it. They do not like it. They do not like her policies. They do not like Joe Biden's policies, and she is part of those policies. She's part of that administration. And the fact that these people forget that she's part of the administration, the fact that Democrats are pretending she's not the Harris and the Biden-Harris administration, all the voters remember. When we come back, I'm going to read for you a text message I got from a guy out in Arizona who is deeply involved in politics out there, who's doing door knocking and engaging with voters out there. And it gives you a sense of where a lot of people are. I have been told now by a Republican strategist and a Democratic strategist that the Harris campaign is giving up on trying to win Arizona, that Ruben Galeo, the Democratic Senate candidate, is going to beat Carrie Lake. She's a terrible nominee. Donald Trump is going to win Arizona. The Harris campaign, they're moving to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. They got to secure the Great Lakes states. And it's because she doesn't relate to people, and people recognize she's part of the Biden-Harris administration, and it's the economy stupid. It always has been. And as I said earlier, the moment Trump stopped surrounding himself with crazy people and instead focused on the economy and everything is the moment people stopped saying that Walz that Lasavate and Susie Wiles needed to go. It's the moment Donald Trump started focusing. It's the moment he started rebounding his campaign. It's the economy stupid. It always has been. And that's why Kamala Harris is probably going to lose. She can still win. Again, she can still win, but she's not right now. Now, I want you to win with Hillsdale College, where you can get great educational information and great just information about the country without indoctrination. All you do is go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You go to Hillsdale College website, you're going to get a free pocket constitution, you're going to get a free Declaration of Independence. You can also get for free the great Larry Arnn series on the Constitution, the great Victor Davis Hanson series on citizenship. You're going to be able to get Imprimus. I'm taking my copy to the mountains with me today. It finally came. My mother got hers first. Nonetheless, I digress. You can also get their podcasts of the Podcast Network completely free. You get all this great stuff from Hillsdale College completely free. It is education. It's not indoctrination. It's pro-America. It's pro-freedom. It is just pro-American spirit. Hillsdale College is a great institution, and they give you this stuff as part of their ongoing commitment to educate beyond the walls of the campus in Michigan, across America. Get it all at ericforhillsdale.com, including the free pocket Constitution and Declaration of Independence. ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I've debated whether or not to talk to you about this. I've given my whole family a laugh at my expense, and I think I should give all of you a laugh at my expense. It's a Friday. Why not? This crosses into the TMI boundary, the too much information boundary. So you need to be aware I'm about to give you too much information about me. Yesterday during the radio program, at the 1 o'clock hour, I stepped out at the top of the hour and went to the bathroom. And, well, I just want you to know that it was one of those not standing episodes, and I noticed on the toilet paper and in the bowl, there was a lot of blood in the water. And I tried not to think about it. I was a little bit distracted. I went and did the show. And then I went and I did the charity event last night. And on the way home, I went by the office again. I was thinking about, what's going on here, Erickson? Used the bathroom again. Same thing. It was, y'all, it was bad. The water in the toilet was red. That's how bad it was. And I started thinking, Piedmont Hospital, the emergency room is a couple blocks from the office. If I'm bleeding like internally, and I got to take blood thinner, I probably need to go to the emergency room. This is not good. I felt fine. I didn't feel lightheaded. I didn't feel like I was losing a substantial amount of blood. But, clearly, look, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then it dawned on me. I really hadn't had a lot to eat that day. I didn't get breakfast. I grabbed a chicken biscuit from Chick-fil-A, which I normally don't eat. It's been months since I've had one. I've been doing so much better on diet. And that was all I had in my stomach other than the prime rib, except that big piece of red velvet cake I had the night before. For those of you not from the southern states, red velvet cake is a staple of the South, and it's a chocolate cake. But you use so much red dye in the cake batter that the cake does not look brown. The cake looks bright red. Just like, well, me hemorrhaging. I told you, crossing the TMI. Y'all might as well have a laugh about it. I called my wife last night on the way home. I said, Christy, I nearly wound up in the hospital. Here we are. We're about to get out of town. It's our anniversary weekend. We're taking the whole family to the mountains. 24 years married as of Monday. And here I am hemorrhaging when I go to the bathroom. Clearly got internal bleeding. Nope, it is my wife's delicious red velvet cake. I'm like, oh my gosh, Erickson. Now, what makes this somewhat funny is because my wife's college roommate had a very similar experience with blueberries. But yeah, gosh, y'all. TMI, I realize you can have a laugh at my expense. We'll be right back.